Good morning, everyone. This is group number 25, and group members are Dhrumil Shah, Vishwesh Naik, and Manraj Singh. So, starting with the demo, these let me just open my screen. Yes. For this project, we are saving our raw data in these files. The data is saved in this format. Like the first is the database name, then is the database name with its table values. And then is database inside values like table name, and with under the table name there are primary key, foreign key, and column structure. Like column structure is like every column and its input type, like it's integer, string, or double. And so like in this database we can see there are multiple tables. This is city table. It closes over here, and this city table have some rows. These are its inside row entries. And next is country table. It has its primary key, foreign key, and column structure. Under this country table there are no rows, like there are no row entries, so it's empty. And next is state table, which got primary key, foreign key, and column structure again. This is the basic structure of a table, like it should have a primary key, a foreign key, or column structure. If there is no like there is no value for foreign key, it should be null, or if there is no primary key, it should be null over here, like it's shown above. And for the state over here, there are a few row entries which are listed over here, and it closes this whole database. After the state, this is the last table in this database, so database bracket closes over here. And sorry, database bracket closes in this over here, because and then comes the next database, which is first. This database is complete, and next is this first database, which has it which starts over here, and similar way all the entries are made in this data in this text file. So how are we making these entries? Okay, for that I'll go into my project structure, all databases. For this we are using static methods like load all my databases. Not load, actually get all my databases. To get all the databases, what we are doing is this is being called whenever a create statement is called, or whenever a commit command is called, then this method is called. It's a singleton class, get all my databases. It contains, the basic structure is that this all databases contains the map of all databases that are inside of a project, that are created or being created. And it contains a string, that is a name of the database, then comes the object. Under this object, this class instance is saved. This class contains, this is a normal class, this is not a singleton class, and this class contains string value, a map, which is being used everywhere. So it contains first table name, then table object, whose instance is created using this class table. Under this, there is a list of table row entries, which contains all the detail of rows, its column name and value. And inside the map, it contains a two string types, which is its column name and column type. Like column name and column type is like integer, double, string, and boolean. These four types are we are right now covering in this project. Next is table rows. Table row just maintains one map, which is of string and object. Why we used object? Because object can store all kind of data like string, boolean, double, and integer all in one object. So that's why we are using object type. And this table row structure maintains it. to store the data, to like if let's consider that at some point in database there are few entries, there are few databases which in each database there are few tables, and in each table there are few entries. So in that case, what we are doing is we are storing this database in this format. Get all my databases. In this, what we are doing is we are using a string builder in which we are creating a structure that is easy to read by human and also by our program. So we are creating such space separated values. For this space separation, we are using these static space variables, which are also being used by another like successor classes. Like it's using the database class is using all database space variable, static variable, and table is using all database space variable. So in this way, we are able to like append the spaces, append the tabs. So yes, in next is we are placing the brackets and everything, all databases. So yes, we are able to append the brackets, and then comes we after appending the brackets, we call for the database with all the keywords. First, we fetch the first keyword. We fetch the first keyword, and for the next keyword, we call the database with this keyword as its input. This is to separate the values with a comma so that it's easy to differentiate between one input to from another. Comma is used for that. So now next is we like we have made it as space separated and called for the database, get my database, which is a part of which is a method of database class. Moving into that, we can see that we are using space again to append the brackets. And after appending the brackets, we have used the database name because we know that it's separated with the database name over here. So we use the database name, and next is after appending the database name, we call for the table entries, table method. Table is again doing what first creating the space, opening bracket, appending the opening bracket and a closing bracket at the end. This one. And so in this, we are saving two maps right now. One is column names and inputs, because we need the column details also, like it's where column names and the input types. And this is what I'm talking about, column names. First, we are saving this data. Then we are saving the table inside column data. So first, for that, for this, we are first traversing the column data. For this, what we are doing is column names and input entry set, traversing whole column inputs map and putting all the key value pairs inside the string builder. And after that, we are fetching the table inputs like rows and values from over here, get my rows. This is a part of table row entry structured class. So get my rows, what it does is it just reads the inputs and create a key value pair structure. Like we can see over here, that is key value pair of all the columns and values. And at the end, we start returning the string builder and converting it to string. It returns to the table, and table returns to the database. Database returns to all databases. And this way, this all database returns and writes it into the file. Where we are writing it into the file? Here we are writing this into the file. write this databases list. So this is a part of write database to file. So this is writing into the path, this path, which is visible from here. File database, databases, this one. For all users, what we are doing is during registering, we are again the similar way we are storing the data all users also. And this is and the password for the password we have encoded it into the SHA 256 hashing. And again, we are creating a structure key value pair structure over here, similar way. And we are reading this structure while fetching the data. How, let me show you how are we fetching the data. For fetching this, first we are running a script. The basic script over here. This is called in the main application. And at the very beginning of the main application, what this script does is, first it creates the token of that all of the file. First, we are creating that token of all databases path. This path is same as we can see in at where the file is saved. This one again. So after creating, let me show you how we are creating the tokens. For creating the tokens list, we are just reading the file, first buffer reader, using the buffer reader. And after reading the file, we are splitting, we are calling the split query object and instantiate it with the input type file data. File data is the data that we read. Sorry. File data is the data that we read from the file, read from the text file. So inside this split query, we are using regex. What this regex does is it splits the input. Let me show you. The main use of regex is it splits the input in such a way that if there are space or commas or brackets, it splits the values from that. And also if there are like single quotes and anything written inside it, and even if there is a space, it won't split. Even if there is a comma, bracket or anything, it won't take it as two values as it does for the without single quotes. It will take this as single keyword, single token. That is very important because if a value is inside single quotes, that means it should be taken as single keyword, and that is a single value. So that's why we are using this regex mainly. Next is it splits that and after splitting, it returns the tokens, and this way we get the tokens. Printing we right now not using. Printing method was written to for the debugging. Yes. So here we split the tokens and saved these tokens in static variable, that is tokens, which is inside this class. Why we use static variable? Because this token variable is being used across all the files. This is static variable, and again this is that method was also static. Moving ahead. Yes, after creating the tokens, as we know that those tokens are stored in the file data's static variable tokens, we move to the load class, load all databases, which is also a static method inside all databases class. All databases class. This is all databases class. So yes, inside this we are loading all the databases. How we are loading it? First, we are fetching the keywords. Yeah, we are using some static methods which are declared inside that to get next keyword. This gives us the next valid keyword, like not the brackets, not commas, x. So yeah, is keyword. What we are doing is get first token. If it validates this condition, then we return it. If doesn't, then we again put it inside the infinite loop and continues to find for the next valid keyword. What is the valid keyword? Over here we have used this method for that to find out. So it is doing what? If any of these values are present, if the keyword is any of these values, it's not a valid keyword. Valid keyword is some name or some proper input value. That's what we are considering a valid keyword. So in that case, we are just returning false, and it continues to be in the infinite loop till it finds the valid keyword. So after finding the valid keyword, we move to the like yes, and after finding the valid keyword, we store it into the database map. Like yes, in this, what we are doing is we have declared two variables, database name and database object. If any of these values, if both of these values become not null, that means we got the key value pair for now. And then we store those keys value pair and again make it null for next values. And in the beginning, it should be false. This condition should be false, and we would move to next this condition. Under this, we are just checking if the keyword is null. If the keyword is null, that means we reach the end of the line, end of the token list. So we are returning the project. So returning the reading method. So next is if we find the closing brackets, then also we are continuing. And on this closing bracket, which we can see, this closing bracket implies to this one. Sorry. That means we need to like it's end of the queue, end of the list. So what we are doing is we are fetching the next keyword, which will give us null, and in the next iteration it will return from this condition. So after this, what we are doing is we are checking for the keyword. After this, we are checking for the keyword. Yes, it's a Boolean variable which tells like is it a key a database name, or is it the database itself? So because we know inside it is split into two values. One is database name and second is database values. This whole part is database values, database itself, database object. So first is database name and then is, so we need to move alternately. So what we are doing is first we fetch the database name because it's initially is false. So this becomes true and we fetch the database name and we toggle it's turned into true. So and in the next iteration, it goes to the database values and it goes to the static method of database, which is fetch all databases, and it sets it set it false. And for the next and in the next iteration, it goes into the database name because there must be multiple, there can be multiple databases. So inside the fetch my database, what we are doing is first because we are feeding the keyword inside it, that is the database name itself. So it starts with the keyword or database name, and it moves to the next keyword, and then it in the similar way we are fetching first we are separating the values. In the similar way we are storing the data, like keeping track of two keywords, and it's calling sorry it's yeah, in similar way it's calling fetch my tables, where all databases was calling database fetch my database. It's calling fetch my table, which is a part of table which is table class static method, and this is calling fetch my, similar way this is calling fetch my rows. In this way we are storing all the data and returning objects. Like fetch my row is returning a row object which is created over here, instantiated over here, and after all the inputs are made into that row, it's being returned after closing bracket, after finding the closing bracket or the null token. This condition usually doesn't happen. Mainly this condition will be hit, and this table is also getting all the data. So this table is fetching the data. Yes. So it's after fetching the data, it stores the rows, add row into the list. After adding all the rows, it returns. It after finding the closing bracket, it returns. Here, it returns. As we know, the database it was calling the table method fetch all my tables. So it stores the table data in this, and when the value of table and table name both becomes not null, it saves into the table map, which is this table map, and returns when it finds the closing bracket. Here it is the closing bracket, so it returns. Ultimately, we get all the data in the all databases class from over here, and this all data is written inside the database map, which is this database map. In this way, we are fetching the database that was earlier created. So continuing from here, similar way, we are fetching the user details also. For the user details, we are fetching the data in the similar way. Yes. So right now, if I use some wrong username, which is not stored over here, as we can see, this dvcdd is not there. And if I put the username, it will still ask for the password, but ultimately it will say that enter correct credentials. If I put the right username, but the password is wrong, this is encoded password, so you cannot see the password value. But if I put password as wrong, actually the password is MANU123, but if I put the password wrong, it will say wrong credentials. I need to type proper credentials. Now we are logged into the program. If we want to register again, for that we need we can exit and restart the program. If we want to register, we will press 1, and we need to give it a username, which will be anything. So our user must be registered. Let me just refresh, because it doesn't refresh it on its own. Yes. So user is over here. We created a new user. It is updated over here. We will log in with the same user. Yes, we are logged in, and our application works in this way that whichever username we used for login, first it will use its username, and then append the this @DVM. DVM is nothing, just our teammates' names, and over here we can start using our queries. Show databases show us all the databases those are present at the point. So if we use a wrong keyword like for databases instead of databases anything, it will throw us an error. Next is if we use one of the database. And then ask for show databases. At the point as the first database is used, it will be marked as asterisk. So we can create database also. So let's create the database. like we have created the database. It's showing that create database database is created when we ask for the show databases, and still the first database is being used, so that is marked as asterisk. If we ask for use first, and our program our project is case insensitive, so we don't need to write the exact same name of the database. We can write it like in small keywords like dummy. Yes. So asterisk sign is visible. I can show you that the database is created. Let me refresh. Here it is. So there is no table, nothing inside this database. So it is blank right now. After creating the table, we will be able to see the entries inside this database. Right now it's blank. So yes, and but the entry is being made as the dummy database we have created right now. Let's create a table. If we enter any input other than any special characters, it will throw error because special characters are not acceptable. It will throw error that table name should only contain characters. If we create table when database is not selected, it will also throw an error that you should select the database first. But right now the database is already selected, so we won't face that error. So yes, for creating table, we need to enter the columns also. So we will enter the columns first. Create table. And instead of int string, like we need to give the column name and its input type, right? So in this case, if we instead of writing integer, string, double, or boolean, we write anything else, and it will throw an error. So create table demo video demo ID. Next is we can say that name string, and as I said that our project is case insensitive, we can write it anyway, like integer, int, string in capital letters, block letters, or small letters. Everything will work, and that is price working boolean. And also we can assign primary key and the secondary key using the primary keyword, and we need to give it the keyword that is demo ID. If we give any other keyword which is not present in there, in that case it will throw an error. Like I said, here it is. So the table is created. If I say all tables, it will show all the tables inside the that database which is selected right now. So we have created this table. It is visible right now. If I say describe the table, describe, if I enter a wrong input, it will say table does not exist. If I say describe demo video, we can see that primary key is also set as we set it over above here, primary key. If we want to see the data, let me just refresh it. Data is updated now. Primary key is set as expected. Foreign key was not set, so it's not visible. Columns are set, and demo, this is empty because there are no entries in the database. Now moving ahead, so what we can do is we have done the insert, create is also done, and yes, if I want to create a table again with the same name, that is demo video. Because I have not put the columns, so it is showing me this error. If I put the correct structure of the create statement, it will say that demo video already exists. Table name already present. So it cannot create the same table again. If I see that all tables, no table is created with the same name again. So this is important. Next is insert. Let's insert into this table. As we know that a primary key cannot be null or duplicate. So insert, let's see those cases. We need to give the column names in which we want to input the values. Let's just neglect the primary key, that is demo ID. Demo ID is first one, so we neglect that and input all other values, and also neglect the working part. Okay, so values, in case of values, what we can do is as I was saying that we can add space separated values also in this project inside single quotes. Next is price. Price is it will throw an error because primary key, sorry, demo video. I write. Yeah, this is also an error that table does not exist because the table, I written the name of the table wrong because table name is demo video, not dummy video. Yeah, primary key cannot be null. This is the error which we got. So in the next command, we will put the primary key also. Sorry, it was column name was demo ID. We can still keep the non-primary key as null, and it will store null for that. Because non-primary key can be null. Demo ID, we can keep it as 1. Yeah, so it's inserted. So we won't be able to see it over here because we have not commit it yet. Until we commit, the entry won't be made in this, and entry will only be made in the RAM. We can also roll back after committing, only the value will be seen. But for this instance, we can check the value with using select command. Yes, so entry is made with the null value for working because it was not primary key. If I roll back right now, so for after rollback, if I again run the select command, dummy demo video. Yeah, there is no row present and it's reverted because it was not commit yet. If I would have committed it, the entry would have been made in the main database. Let's just commit it then to see the entry. How is it made? I'll refresh it. So here is the entry which is made now, and if I try to roll back now, still the select command will show the entry. Next is we cannot repeat the primary key. So if we try to repeat the primary key, it will throw an error that primary key cannot be duplicated, which is also important because primary key need to be unique and not null. Let's create another entry then. Yes. Using the select command, we can see the entries are made. Entries being made. This is just the serial number, which is not the part of table, but we are printing it in parallel just to keep the count of the rows. It's also null. We could have saved some value. If the count is different, like these column names are 3 and values are 4, then also it will throw an error. Sorry.
The primary keys.
Yes. Actually, the comma is not closed. Yeah. Now it will work fine. Primary key cannot be duplicated. Okay, great. Yes. Yes. So All the entries are made. Let's commit it because these are not updated into the main database. After committing it, it will be updated. Yes, so here are all the entries, demo 1, 3 and 2. All the entries are made. Okay, this is null because we never assigned it a value. Let's create a database which we have already saved. We can also run multiple commands in a go. Like after creating a database, there's a primary key which is rows. So this is how we can insert multiple rows. Here we have kept a single error also. Like in this price is double, but the input value we are storing is not in the double format because there is a comma in between 20,25 instead of 20.25. So this entry should not be made and there should be an error, else all entries should be made in the database. Let's try this. Yeah, as we expected, price is wrong. Again, it threw an error for just that single input and inserted all other inputs, all other values. So if we try to see all databases, it will show us, sorry, all tables. It will show us all the tables those are present in that database. So there is only one table in the data test database. Okay, so if we want ask to describe this table, it will project test. Sorry, there was no, I didn't write the correct name. So describe project test. So yes, there is one primary key and else all other the another normal values. So if I just try to find the entries, primary, sorry, table name, select star from project test. All the entries are made except one with the row value as 6, as row value 6 had an error. 6 had an error. Yes. Except 6, all the row values are made. These are not permanent. These are not updated in the database. Why? Because we have not commit it yet. As I shown you, I've refreshed it and there is no such entry in the database with this table. But there must be that database. There must be an entry with this database name, which is data test. Data test should be present in here. Let me just find it. Here it is. Data test is present with its project test table also, because project test was created. Create query does not require commit command. And so the entries are, sorry, only the entries are not updated except the data table structure and database structure are created. So let me just refresh it and show you that there are no such entries present in the database after refreshing. If I commit now and then refresh, it will create the entries. Refresh. Yes, so the entries are made with all the rows inside it. You can see that all the rows are present with all the inputs. This is the closing bracket of project test table. So data storing is successful. Now next thing what we'll do is we will try some select commands. Like for the select commands, we have also implemented, not just for select, update, delete, we have implemented the where condition also. For the where condition, we have used recursive call, recursive where condition. Okay, so the code part. For all the code part, sorry, I didn't explain the code for previous commands. For the previous commands, all of the commands, what we are doing is we are initially starting with the input from user. After getting the input from user, just give me a second, laptop just got hanged. After getting the input from user, okay, everything moves from here. So yes, here we are like converting the password into the SHA-256 hash code password, right? And storing it in the database. So yes, here are all the cases. Like first, after converting into the tokens, we are fetching the token list, and for that getting the in first token, and on the basis of first token value, is it exit, quit, we are calling the respective method. If it's exit, we are calling the exit query. It's quit, so commit. Like I shown you the create. Inside the create, we have two of there are further two cases. One is the next keyword is database token, next keyword is database, or the next keyword is table. If the next keyword is database, we are moving to the database part, and if it's table, we are moving to the table method. Table method is doing nothing, just reading the query, and like if the query is correct, if it's proceeding with it. If it's wrong at any point, it's throwing an error, relative error. Table should not only contain characters. Like this kind of errors we are throwing. For throwing the error, we are using print info static method, which is using two type of inputs, like it print error or print message. These two type of commands we are using. One is a common command error, which is that the command is not correct. There are three kind of errors we are throwing using this. Two is input, like some specific, if there is some specific error, we are using print error method, which creates a red format of error. If you want, let me show you. What we are doing inside this is we are just like making the entry in the system.error print message, and we are also writing the error into the event log. And we are because we know that there are two different pipelines, like for out and for error. So if we print error, we need to make the system sleep for 300 seconds, so that the out, any of the out command should not work in parallel. Okay, then comes print error is done. So next is fetch column. Yes, we need to fetch the column data. So so first, as we know, there in the select query, create table, there are column names also. So it fetches the column data from this method and stores it into the column list. And after creating, and we create the column, fetch the column types also. So and stores it into the map, column and type map. These are the methods over here. Then create table query is executed. Create table method is called. Create table method, what it create table class is instantiated, which is over here. These are all the main commands that we are running. Like this is create table, which is called from there. Let me show you. This is the create table called. So we are fetching all the basic information like user details, with which user it's stored, or the which database is logged right now. Those all details are stored in basic information. After fetching the when we use the database, it stores the basic information into the singleton class basic information. So so after fetching the basic information database, we store it into the database object and make the entries into it. for the create table. So any table that is created, here it is, we make the entry into the database. Create table. This way we are creating the table. Now moving to the select query with where clause. Yes. Let me show you the select query in this case. Inputs from user. Here it is. So for the select query, what we are doing is, after getting the select query, we move into that query. Again, splitting it into the token and moving in the similar way that if it's star, then all the columns are considered, and if it's bracket, we fetch the column names, and only those columns are executed. Only those columns are shown. Next is, like, if there is a where clause at the end of statement, then what we are doing is we are calling the where, like fetching all the conditions, and we are executing the recursive where condition evaluation. First method is where condition evaluation, and fetching the like they can be in our program, they can be multiple where conditions. So we are recursively executing recursively evaluating the conditions and evaluating them together and returning the overall the total columns which are evaluated from that condition. It returns the rows, only those rows, list of rows which are returned from the evaluation. So it recursively calls itself again and again until all the where conditions are covered or the condition is wrong. Condition is incomplete. And for and or, if there is and condition between the two conditions, in that case we are doing intersection, and if it's or, we are doing union. In intersection method, it takes the input as two lists of table rows, and what it does is it gives the common part of the rows. If both the rows contains it, then only it returns that row. So yes, let's move ahead. Let's write the where condition. Select query with the where condition. Select star from vaccinated is equal to true, let's say. Only those value will be listed which have vaccinated value as true. If we put select star from, again the same condition actually, and append it with another condition which is an and with it, we'll see that and name is equal to this name. So this will only return the values with true and this Vishwesh Naik. If I put or instead of and, like and gives me intersection, or gives me union, so it should return me the names. Yes, even the false values are coming because we have put or in this. Or, so wherever the name is either or value is true for the vaccinated, column, it will return us the row. So this is also coming in this. At the end, if we put another condition, like first this one and another condition and third one, that row is equal to 11. Okay. Oh, sorry. I've written the wrong name of the column. It is rows instead of row. So it has thrown the correct error also. This is also a case is equal to 11. Yes. So we have put 3 consecutive conditions and still it's evaluating because we have used recursive evaluation of the where condition. Now goes select. We can even put another condition in here, or and we say assigned is equal to 1. There should be 2 entries because we know every condition is true for these 2 entries. If I make another value, yes. So this way we have written, I guess, 1, 2, 3, and 4 conditions consecutively. You can go ahead and write as many conditions in the where condition and it will evaluate it. Next is if we write some columns instead of star in the select statement. Columns like name, rows, not rows exactly, vaccinated. It will give us only those columns. This is just the serial number which we are keeping to track the number of columns. So only 2 rows have shown up. Okay, great. So this is working fine. Moving ahead. So let's delete a column. Let's delete this column only. Delete from project test and put where condition and delete. Put the where condition exactly the same because we need to delete the single column. It will show us how many columns are affected. Deleted 1 row. If I try to now find, as we know that it was row number 13, it should not be visible now in the 13 is not visible. After 12, it's directly 14. As we have not committed it yet, if I roll back, it will come back to its original value. Like 13 is present now. Let's delete it and commit it. Okay, let's update some value. So for the update also, we can use the same where condition. Update. Let's copy the where condition. Update table. Sorry. Update project list. Again, it will throw error if I put some wrong name of the table. Set name is equal to. If I want put any condition, it will update all the rows. So 18, all of the 18 rows are affected with this because I have not put any where condition. Yes, so every value is matching. Now I can roll back and make it revert my last changes because I have not committed it yet. Yes, so all the values are reverted back to the original. So yes. Okay, I've used where condition, which I've used the same where condition which I used in the select query. So in this select query, as you can see, after putting this where condition, only one row was visible. So we want to update it only this row with the and update the name of this row. If I put enter, table does not exist. So okay, sorry, I've written wrong table over here. It should be project test, not project space test. Just one second. So yes, using this update query, if I just update the project test name, yes, so one row is successfully updated. If I see the table now, let start from project test. Only the 13th row should be updated. Oh, sorry, 13th, the row's value should be updated with new name, which was Vishnu Singh, as I updated Vishnu Singh. Only one name should be there present, which is Vishnu Singh, because no other entry has this name. And yes, only the name is updated for only one row. If I don't commit it again, it will be rolled back. No, I'll commit this. It's updated now. Moving ahead, update query is working with the where condition. Now for ERD, we can also check the ERD of this table. ERD does what? First SQL dump. SQL dump to save the SQL dump. We use save. What it does is the current database which is selected, it creates a dump of that database. Let me just update it. We'll be able to see the SQL dump. Here it is. So SQL dump is created. It's created in the similar way, exactly the same way it's written and read from it. The same in which the database is selected. Only the difference is that instead of saving all the databases, it's only saving single database. So yes, all the rows of the database are saved. If I drop the database now, drop. For the drop query, if I input users just to see what was the drop query, we can see that inside the drop queries over here, what we're using is first it should be drop and next it should be so only drop and it gives the it calls the drop with the database name. We need to give the database name with the drop query to drop it. So what was the database name? Show databases. This is the database which being used right now. So I'll use drop data test because I created the backup of this database. Data test, drop data test. Sorry, drop database data test. Yes. So database should be dropped. Show databases. Yes. So now in the list of databases, we cannot see the database. If I try to save again SQL dump, because the database is not selected and SQL dump save only uses the current database, it will throw an error that select the database first. So next is use, we'll use some another, and SQL get. If I use SQL get, what it will do is, sorry, SQL dump, let's create the backup of some other database also. Use first SQL dump save. This will again save the database. It will be updated. Uh, this will be updated. So yes, actually there is no change, so it's not updated. Next is as it's already present. So SQL dump get will fetch me all the list of databases which are in the backup and which can be retrieved. And I need to enter the value, or sorry, integer value that that is representing that database. I'll enter 2, and dataset will be again read back into the main dataset. So I'll show databases, will show me all the databases. Yes, here it is. It's back with us. Use data test. So SQL dump is also working. Use data test. If I want to see that all the tables are present or not, all tables, we created only one table, so it is here. If I want to see that it's updated or not, select star from project test, and everything is fine in this table with the latest value which we updated also present in this. All the entries and everything is present. Even so the SQL dump creating and fetching is working perfectly fine. Next is ERD. ERD. If I want to create the ERD, there is no what are we printing in this ERD? First, the databases and all the tables corresponding to it, and their structured description of the table. And in the ERD, we are also printing that primary and foreign key connections, because there is only one table, so there is no connection. So under this column, there are no entries. If we create such table with the connections, if we try to create,
I guess the country ad is already in use.
okay, then it's great. Use show databases. Is it? Sorry. Show databases. Oh, sorry. It is already present. So yes, I can use all. Yes. In this, we have created three tables with which are in connection with each other, having one primary key, another ERD. If we put ERD, it will show this way. We can see here. Here is the ERD starting. It will describe the table first. Like first table is cities. It's describing the first table. Next is all countries table, and it's describing the next with the foreign key state ID, which is over here. State ID that is primary key of state table. And so we can see these tables are connected as city ID is its primary key of the city table, and which is foreign key for the state table. City ID is foreign key for the state table, so it is connected with the first city table. And this is the country table, which has the foreign key as state ID, which is connected with the state table. So at the end, same connections are made in the foreign key and primary key and foreign key connections. That city is connected with the state table, and state table is connected with country table. This way ERD is also working. This actually sums up our demo. Thank you so much. And also we can exit the code. Exit. Yes.